Lulu, I'm going to need you to either help with this discussion or get out of the frame. What is your choice today? What are you going to do? Are you going to help with the discussion or are you going to get out of the frame? Hi everyone, if you haven't already heard, there has been some headway with the current Rupert Murdoch trust dispute. I made a YouTube video a couple of weeks ago talking about when it first started. Very briefly, what's going on is Rupert Murdoch set up a trust, an irrevocable trust at that, and he's trying to change a little bit of the terms of the trust to reflect his oldest son, Lachlan, to have all of the voting power, but not to necessarily change the financial interests from his children, but to take the voting power that is supposed to be split equally between his 4 children to now give all of the voting power to his eldest son, Lachlan. If you are unaware, Rupert Murdoch actually is like a media mogul. He owns a lot of the media empire that we know today. Fox News, News Corp, I believe Wall Street Journal as well. So a lot of what we see today in the media is controlled by the Murdoch family. Current situation is that it is based in Nevada, and also if you see me looking down, it's a lot of information with this case, and I want to make sure that, as always, I'm speaking correctly, so I did make a couple of notes. So what was found, the Nevada probate commissioner did review Rupert Murdoch's initial request to change the terms of the trust, and under the terms of the trust, each of 93-year-old Rupert Murdoch's 4 children would have equal voting shares. And as I stated earlier, he's now trying to change those voting shares to now specifically go to his eldest son, Lachlan, as opposed to his other 3 children. However, in recent news, the probate commissioner that has been overseeing this case right now has found that rather than making changes in the best interest of all the beneficiaries, the goal was to simply put Lachlan in charge. And for this reason, it was found by the probate commissioner that Rupert Murdoch was actually acting in bad faith to change the terms of the irrevocable trust. Commissioner Edmund J. Gorman Jr. concluded in a decision filed that the father and son, who is head of Fox News and News Corp, had acted in bad faith in their effort to amend the irrevocable trust, which divides control of the company equally between Mr. Murdoch's 4 oldest children, Lachlan, James, Elizabeth, and Prudence, after his death. Think about irrevocable trusts. Normally, that term irrevocable means that once you put it into place, you can't change it. And while this is usually the case, and usually people like the idea of revocable living trusts, just for when things like this happen, they can go back and they can change it. So revocable meaning I can revoke it at any time. I don't need permission from anyone to revoke it. However, when you set up an irrevocable trust, there's a couple of different things that are going into play, just because this trust that you're putting in place isn't necessarily part of your estate anymore. It's literally part of the irrevocable trust. So looking at the laws in Maryland, when we're talking about putting together irrevocable trusts, it's really important to understand what you're doing when you are creating an irrevocable trust. Rupert Murdoch is currently going through this issue right now because he put together an irrevocable trust, and you actually need permission to amend or revise or do any changes to an irrevocable trust. Coming from the state of Maryland in the Maryland Estates and Trust Code, because I'm licensed to practice law in the state of Maryland, and so looking at this through the lens of Maryland, a non-charitable irrevocable trust may be modified on consent of the trustee and all beneficiaries if the court concludes that modification is not inconsistent with a material purpose of the trust. So if not all beneficiaries are consenting to this proposed modification or the termination of the trust under this subsection, so what I just read, the modification or termination may be approved by the court if the court is satisfied. So stay with me here. If the court is satisfied that all beneficiaries had consented, the trust could have been modified or terminated, and the interests of a beneficiary that does not consent will adequately be protected. So long story short, you're not going to just simply change an irrevocable trust because you feel like it. You have to get permission to change an irrevocable trust, and doing those changes must not materially disadvantage the beneficiary. Clearly, since Rupert's other children, Prudence, I believe, Elizabeth, and James did not consent to taking away those voting powers that Rupert originally gave them, that's why they're currently in the probate court right now trying to fix all of this. So this is what we want to be mindful of when we're setting up these irrevocable trusts. This isn't something that you can just change lightly. You've got to go through the proper mechanisms, got to go through the proper channels, and even then, if you want to change it, there may be some sort of a roadblock that is stopping you from changing it. So as we see right now, Rupert Murdoch, his idea, or the idea behind it, is that he wanted to give all of the voting shares, so that power, to his eldest son, Lachlan. And we're finding out that these reports are saying that it was in bad faith, probably because his other 3 children don't necessarily share the same values as him politically. So Rupert Murdoch is more so leaning in the right direction, or right leaning. As we know, Fox News is more so right leaning, and Lachlan and Rupert kind of share those same ideals. However, the other 3 children are leaning more so to the moderate side, as this fear that the secession essentially of his media company isn't going to be, or isn't going to reflect the same values that he's always had. So definitely something to think about if you're wanting to put together an irrevocable trust. Although it does present lots of asset protection, it does present tax savings and things like that once you speak with your estate planning attorney about it. The only issue is it's not going to be as simple or as quick of a process to change, amend, or terminate. It's going to be definitely a process that you have to go through. And as we can see, Rupert Murdoch is showing right then and there that once you put together these irrevocable trusts, it's not something that, even with money, is not something that you're going to guarantee will go in your favor. I will say though, he's probably going to appeal the decision from the probate commissioner, but still, you know, for regular people who don't want to go through all of this, it's just like, either put together a revocable trust that you want to keep control over. If you know at some point in time you're going to want to change it or amend it, terminate it, whatever, put together a revocable living trust. However, if you do want to put together an irrevocable trust, really think hard about those decisions, why you want to put together an irrevocable trust, and talk with your estate planning attorney about it and why that decision may be the best for you. I hope this was helpful. Like I said, I'm definitely tracking this case and this situation as closely as I can. And if there are any other new updates, I'll definitely let you all know. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. My name is Leah Boston. I'm an estate planning attorney here in the state of Maryland and owner of Law Office of Leah Boston. I draft wills, trusts, and I talk about long-term life care planning with people like you. Have a great day. See you in the next video. Bye.